Have you noticed that some things in the One Piece live action happened in reverse compared to the anime? Like, for example, Helmeppo's hair, which in the Netflix series starts off big, and it's only after he joins the Navy that it takes on that dreadful bowl shape we see in the anime. Unlike the animation, where he initially has that weird hair and a goofy look, and only later becomes more stylish after he and Koby have been trained by the great Admiral Garp, Luffy's grandfather. So, in the live action, Helmeppo's hair order has completely reversed. And that's not the only massive difference we've noticed in the latest adaptation of the longest manga series in history. We've compiled 10 differences to show you, and that was just the first one. First and foremost, we want to make it clear that this video is not a critique of the series. After all, it's normal for changes to be made to adapt so many long arcs from such a huge anime into a few episodes, so we're just highlighting the differences. Whether you find the series good or bad is up to you after watching. So now, let's get to the differences. Monkey D. Garp's appearance. Another massive difference we couldn't help but notice in the One Piece series is related to one of the most powerful characters in the entire series. We're talking about him, the current Vice Admiral of the Navy, Monkey D. Garp. The guy can knock out anyone in the world of One Piece with a punch, or as he likes to call it, a love punch. Took longer to appear in the animation. We only saw Ace and Luffy's grandfather at the end of the Romance Dawn arc to take Axe-Hand Morgan into custody, who ends up escaping because Garp falls asleep. And even then, he's seen in his typical dog suit. We only see his face in Water 7, in the post-Enies Lobby arc, when he and his men visit the Straw Hat crew after the fight in Enies Lobby, in contrast to the series, where he appears practically at the beginning.
This is what you wanted, right? To be a pirate. Well, I'll show you what Marines do to pirates.
A lot more Koby. Speaking of Garp, another difference is related to one of his proteges, the friendliest Marine of all, Koby. After finally getting into the Navy, Koby and now cool Helmeppo become sort of Garp's disciples. They appear in a few episodes of the anime, but we only see how much stronger they become when they arrive at Galila with Garp and reunite with their friend Luffy and also Zoro. But in the live action, we see Koby appearing in many other moments that he doesn't appear in the anime, like at Kaya's mansion, Usopp's friend even having a conversation with the villain Kuro. He even talks to the girl's butler, which doesn't happen in the anime. So it seems that over the seasons, Koby will be quite important and have a lot of prominence. They shouldn't be there. Since we mentioned Koby, let's talk about something else that's in Netflix but not in the anime, involving the boy. When Koby and Luffy arrive at Shell's town, they find Zoro there, tied up and waiting for his sentencing. But in the live action, things are quite different. In fact, both Luffy and Koby are present when Zoro fights the Marine soldiers and even takes on Helmeppo. They watch everything very closely as they are seated at a table very close to all the action. In the anime, all of this had already happened, and Zoro had been imprisoned by Morgan, and they definitely weren't present. Ah, and for sure, Nami wasn't present originally. Beating the animals. Speaking of Axe-Hand Morgan, we found not one, but two bizarre differences involving the former captain. At one point, we see the boss of the 153rd Marine Branch feeding his Den Den Mushi with something that looked a lot like lettuce. Of course, they are snails and need to eat, but I don't recall ever seeing anyone feed a Den Den Mushi in the anime, but we have to agree, this was a pretty cool difference. I liked it myself. And before we mention the second difference between the live action and the anime involving Axe-Hand Morgan, let's pay tribute to the genius who created what some consider the greatest manga and anime of all time. And God knows when it will end. So drop hashtag Oda, the name of the author of One Piece, down below. Who knows, maybe he'll see your comment and send you the complete manga collection of One Piece to your house. Less sun and more office? The second difference was hard not to notice, and if you watch the anime, you definitely noticed it too. In the animated version, it seems like Axe-Hand Morgan got a lot more sun and is much more tan than in the Netflix version, having a slightly lighter skin tone than the sinister sailor. But just to be clear, this isn't a criticism, just an observation, since the live-action Morgan turned out incredibly menacing and cruel, just like in the anime, and we have to admit that the actor who played the role did a great job. So it seems that the series Morgan had more of an office job with air conditioning and less time in the sun. Buggy's Circus. Speaking of stealing a show, if there was someone who did it very, very well and really embodied and also dismembered the character, it was actor Jeff Ward. But we couldn't help but notice the difference between the anime and the series story. As in the latter, we see Buggy's Circus set up quite differently from the anime, and he even holds the entire city hostage to watch his shows. In fact, almost the entire fight between Buggy and the Straw Hat crew takes place in the ring of Buggy's circus, which I actually quite liked, you know? We only missed the longer battles between Zorro and Buggy's crew, but we know they couldn't show everything anyway. But for sure, the details of the circus are a difference compared to the animation that we noticed.
Well, well, well! Looks like we have something else in common.
Luxurious Baratia. This is definitely one of the coolest differences between the anime and the animated series. Of course, in the animation, Baratia is a highly sought after and upscale restaurant, but the details in the drawing didn't really make that clear. But Netflix certainly gave an incredible upgrade to Zeph's restaurant, including various cool details and items, like chandeliers and upscale restaurant tables.
Welcome to Baratia. How can I help you?
By the way, Zeph, I must say, looks simply identical to the head chef in the animated series. Very well done. I love that braided mustache. But going back to Sanji's home, for sure, the air of refinement and luxury in the live-action version of Baratia was much greater than in the drawing. And without a doubt, this is one of the coolest differences between the two versions. Arlong at Baratia? Since we mentioned the best restaurant in all of East Blue, we noticed something very, very different from the anime in the series. Arlong, the leader of the Fishman Pirates, simply shows up at the restaurant, which never happened in the anime, as he only appears in the next arc, Arlong Park, where he holds Nami's village hostage, and no one, not even the Marines, has any interest in doing anything to free the inhabitants, at least not until Luffy arrives and takes down the evil Fishman. So without a doubt, this is one of the most brutal differences between the two versions of One Piece. Arlong at the circus too? In addition to showing up at Baratia just to cause chaos and disrupt everyone's life, Arlong also appears at Buggy's circus to interrogate the pirate clown after he's already been defeated by Luffy.
Why don't you let me live, and then I help you find Luffy?
That's another thing that definitely doesn't happen in the anime. Actually, I don't think Buggy and Arlong ever cross paths in the anime. At least not until now. Who knows what the future holds, right? After all, if there's one thing Ichiro Oda has, it's an incredible imagination to make things we never imagined happen. So this is definitely another difference that needs to be noted. And if you've made it this far, you deserve a special gift. We're going to tell you another difference between the animated series and the live action. After all, you deserve it. Another difference that few people may have noticed in the live action because it's a bit subtle is about the moments when the Straw Hat crew is shown when they were still children. We see Luffy, Nami, Usopp, all still very young. Oh, and there's also Zoro? It seems that young Zoro got a growth spurt and grew taller than his pirate buddies, because for sure, the person holding those swords isn't a child, but rather a teenager, or maybe even an adult with a teenager's face. But you can understand Netflix on this point because surely some people around the world would sue the company if they showed a child holding two swords in the series, even if they were cardboard. After all, it would set a bad example for the little ones everywhere. But anyway, this scene is different from the anime, where we see Zoro as a very young child still in training, and even defeating everyone since he was little. Those were the 10 most bizarre differences between the One Piece anime and live action, plus one bonus we gave you today. And with that, we're wrapping up the video, folks. Now is the perfect time for you to explore more super cool content, like these two amazing videos on your screen. The first one is definitely a choice worth making. Click on it and have a blast!